Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today we're gonna check how to play with Emily. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, comment, and share if you enjoy the content. Now, let's see. We're gonna start by analyzing Emily. She didn't change after the renewal. She changed a little bit in her appearance. She can take out the glasses and some things, but basically they didn't tweak any of the skills. I mean, she's busted. She's really busted, but there's some minor tweaks they could have done. I mean, why didn't they even touch any of her skills? I don't know. Well, my Emily, as you can see, is level 81, so it's not maxed out, but it's pretty strong. And I have unlocked the extra skill because of that. Now, let's start with the analysis of the skills. So, starting with homing bullets. Emily is unlike other characters because she is one of the auto attackers. So you can just leave her be and she's going to auto attack. Because of that, and the fact that she is in this flying chair, flying machine, whatever it is, she doesn't have certain attacks like the launching attack that all characters have. She doesn't have that. Instead, she's gonna have homing bullet, which oddly enough is one of her best skills. And normally, these kind of skills that works with one copy of each is not that good. But for Emily, it's one of the best skills you can use. It's going to be activated on hold attack, and it auto activates when you have zero system because it is kind of the same command. Okay, so let's see. Shoot homing missiles during normal attacks. Perform an additional attack. So if you have one green, you're gonna reduce the cooldown of this skill by 20%. That's fine. I mean, it's easy to proc, and the skill is also easy to activate. The commands are very easy to use, so it is a good thing to have cooldown reduction because you're gonna deal more damage faster. Then with one blue, you're going to increase the damage by 25%, and with one red, you add 2 additional missiles. Whichever combination of colors that you can make is fine. If you go with green blue, green red, or blue red, that's fine. If you go with all 3 colors, that's also fine. This is an excellent skill to use with Emily. But if you're going with a single color, there's few situations where you're going to want to use this. Yeah, it is a good generic way to deal damage. If the AI is using the character, then you don't need to use zero system. So you can equip homing bullet in that case. So it is a good skill. For most builds, you're going to be using this. But for pure color, maybe you don't want to use this skill. Just saying. Then we have Axe Impact. One of her strongest skills, in fact, but one that people don't use that much. Because normally you don't go pure colors with Emily. We're going to check pure colors, but this is for pure red. It says, project an image of an axe, performs a melee attack. That's kind of weird. Emily, even though she's a ranged attacker, she has a couple melee attacks. So you want damage increase supporters when using Emily instead of only range damage supporters. You can go for range damage supporters because that's the vast majority of her skills. But when you use the melee ones, you have to be careful with which supporters you're going to pick. So with one red, projects spinning blades and performs a consecutive attack. So here you can see only one X. But the thing is that if you use a red build, you're going to use 3 axes. So one comes from the left, one comes from the right, and then the one that comes from above. That's the effect on number 1. With 2 red, you reduce the cooldown by 20%. And considering it has a high cooldown, the cooldown reduction is going to give you more value. So it is pretty good. Lastly, it has increased critical damage by 250%. That's pretty good. And normally, you're going to use this effect. Well, actually, no. You only want to do like special builds on challenging content. For the most content, you're gonna do a basic build that we're gonna check later, which uses all colors and you don't use axe impact. But in none, it deals a good amount of damage in VR, but you're not going to use that much on VR because you cannot crit for the most part. But on tower, on what's the name, on event stages, on event bonus stages, then this axe impact is gonna be useful. Then we have Aegis Tackle. Aegis Tackle is another good skill. Usually I don't like skills for range attackers that put you in front of the enemy, but this skill is all about timing because it's definitely worth it. All of these effects are actually good. For green, you're gonna increase your speed by 15% for 10 seconds. For blue, you're going to reduce damage taken by 15% for 10 seconds. And with red, you're going to increase critical rate by 10% for 10 seconds. This activates on the main slot, so keep that in mind. And it's a dash attack. This is pretty good. The speed increase is always appreciated. The damage reduction is not bad for blue builds because usually blue builds are for to make tanks. Unfortunately, there aren't that many options for defensive blue for Emily. It's kind of weird. I mean, you only need the main to get the benefit of this, and there are some blue supporters you can use on the main. So if you want to go for a tanky build, maybe you want to go with a mixture of colors. Remember, there are certain supporters in each color that give you defensive boosts. So yeah, that's a thing. Then we have Healing Field, another excellent skill, but unfortunately, you need to have 3 supporters to get the benefit of these skills. This is the perfect dodge skill. It says expand an aura field that restores HP over time during extreme dodge. With 3 green, increase the restoration amount by 100%. With 3 blue, increase restoration range by 50%. And with 3 red, increase restoration frequency by 75%. So all of them are good for different situations. Blue is good because you have more range and you have more wiggle room if you're doing solo content, or you're going to heal your partners if you're on VR. So yeah, it is pretty good, and you don't need to use it in pure colors. You can use it just because, and that's due to the fact that it's a healing skill, which are very appreciated. You don't need to have the extra effect to just take advantage of this. You can do a mixed build with Homing Bullet, Healing Field, and Zero System. And that's right, that's about it. If you want to add to farm, you don't want to use Healing Field unless you have the specific weapon that makes you evade. But for the most part, it is a good skill. Then we have Counter Bomb Trap. This skill. It says immediately after enemy attack, so you have to receive a hit. Not good. You know what I think about that? If you don't have the means to recover HP, which Emily definitely does, but she isn't like tanky, and in fact she's super weak to getting hit. She's a range attacker, and she lives and dies by that motto. So counter attack with an explosion that knockbacks enemies after being attacked. With 2 green, increase damage by 10% for 5 seconds. A damage buff is not just damage increase on the skill, it's a damage buff, which is good. but you need to get hit? No, that's too risky, especially on Emily. She gets interrupted because she has like zero super armor. In fact, on one of my runs, I got stun locked when I was midair, and I died. I was full health, and they stun locked me, and I died. So be super careful with enemy. Don't let them get near you. Then set 2 blue is going to increase the particle charge by 3%, and set 2 red snares enemy for 5 seconds. The red one is very good. Blue is horrible, but green and blue are okay. Red especially because it is a means for you to just escape in case the enemy gets near you. But for the most part, you don't want to allow the enemy to get near you in the first place. Let's see. Then we have Ground Shocker, one of Emily's best skills depending on what you go for. This release shock waves from the drones, performs an area attack. As you can see, you're going to get up in the air, and then you're going to launch these barrels onto the enemy. If you have 2 green, knocks down the enemy. It's pretty bad. Don't use it on green. With 2 blue, reduce the enemy's defense by 20% for 10 seconds. That's great. And with 2 red, reduce enemy's speed by 20% for 10 seconds. Also red. Blue and red are excellent options if you want to use Ground Shocker. But I got to mention, here you can be hit. Unfortunately, the hitbox is still down there, so they can hit you even though you're in their Gremory. You should have fixed that. You should have allowed us to have the hitbox higher in the air, so that we don't get hit while we are midair and we get interrupted and we get stun locked. So yeah, pretty good skill if you want to increase damage or reduce the speed of the enemy. Another noticeable thing is that I use Emily as a speed control unit, but she can only do this with other units on VR, on stages where you have multiple Taimanin, because by herself the speed control is not enough. I built it exactly the same as I did for VR, and it wasn't enough. It's a good means to proc the debuff activation condition on certain supporters, but that's about it. Then we have Gravity Hold. Gravity Hold is the all blue skill. This is a drone flies 4, performs a ranged attack. Is that the drone supposedly? Okay. No, I don't think it's a drone. It's more like a ball. Not the drone is actually here. So with 1 blue, knocks up the enemy, which is not that impressive actually. We could have reworked this first part, but Gremory just forgot about that. Number 2, restore HP by 3% of damage given. I think they meant damage dealt to enemies. And you would say 3% is a low number. Yeah. If you go with a defensive build or a crit build that isn't actually critting, then it's not going to work. But if you go for damage, my god, you can restore all your HP in one go. And the last one says increase critical rate by 50%. So 3 blue, more crit. So yeah, you're supposed to crit with this skill. Now, Round Slicer. Round Slicer, it's a good skill, but usually people don't play with this, don't use these skills, because it also activates on Perfect Dodge, which means you're not going to use Healing Field if you use Round Slicer. What does this do? Well, on false spinning blades, perform an automatic attack during an extreme dodge. So as you can see, you do kind of the virtual thing from Devil May Cry, where you use your blade around you to hit the enemy. With 1 green, increase attack range by 25%, which isn't that big, but it is big enough. Then, reduce range damage taken by 50% while active. I mean, another thing they should have reworked. This skill, unfortunately, requires you to get near the enemy. Even with the extended range, you're going to get into their attack range. So they should have focused on a more offensive buff. Because damage reduction is fine, but I would have given generic damage reduction instead of range damage reduction, because you're getting near the enemy, probably you're gonna get hit, whatever. And this one has the increased damage by 150% on 3 green. So that's good. Then Zero System. Zero System is the most noticeable skill, the most important skill of Emily, because this is going to allow you to auto farm. Drones perform automatic normal attacks of 50% damage. So yeah, you would think that that's pretty bad, but the fact that you don't need to constantly hold the attack button, it's pretty good. You're constantly dealing damage just because. And with one supporter, you increase the damage by 20%. With 2 supporters, you automatically move to the next area, which means you can leave this autoplay. And with 3 supporters, you're going to increase the damage by an additional 30%. So yeah, it is a good skill, but you need to know when you want to use it. Basically, there's 2 ways to play Emily. You use Zero System, and you take that into account, or you do not use Zero System and you focus more on skills. And the last one is going to be Drone Shocker. Drone Shocker is another good skill, but unfortunately it's only good on red. It says, sends a drone that continuously attacks the enemy in an area. With 2 green, the drone advances forwards. With 2 blue, the drone attacks knock back the enemies. And with 2 red, reduce the enemy's speed by 20% for 10 seconds. So yeah, both green and blue are not that good. In fact, I would say that you don't try to use them. I mean, if you can deal a lot of damage with this, it's fine. Controlling blue is appreciated, but super armor is a thing. And speed reduction is kind of the best about this skill. So now, first things first, we're gonna do VR unlike other guides that I have done, because Emily has many builds, and I have to show you this because I don't have the space to save it. So you already know that I'm level 81, and I'm going to use the Amber Karma weapon, 5 out of 5 plus what? Plus, oh no, that's not the right button. So again, 41. I'm gonna use the Karma weapon, as I was saying, the Amber one, plus 13. All damage against machine. I'm gonna use this one on the sub weapon, 5 out of 5 plus 14. I know, I mean, I could use this one and it's going to give me more damage. And well, we'll talk about the weapons later, but using the Sledge of Blessing is another good option, especially on VR, because you're going to increase your damage and your allies' damage. And on machines is particularly better because you don't need to, you're not going to lose your stacks, unlike Queen Arachne and Masked Taimanin. So yeah, let's see. For skills, we're gonna use Round Slicer, Aegis Tackle, and Zero System. Why am I using these skills? Round Slicer is our main damage skill here. Aegis Tackle is to get a buff, and Zero System to consistently deal damage. The other skills I don't like that much. This I do like, but I'm not going to take a hit on VR. No, I'm going to try to avoid that actually. So yeah, and I cannot use the healing wave, the healing field, because I mean I'm using round slicer, which proc with the same command. So for supporters, I'm going to be using Sora, 4 out of 5. I have the nano machine for this, but I'll wait until I finish all my gears for the facility to re-roll supporters. I'm going to use Misaki to increase damage, and I'm going to use Homare now. I wanted to use Homare now on another character because of the defensive buff, but I need the damage buff on this character, and the defensive buff is also good. If you don't have Sora, what can you do? You can go with Nano. Nano is a super good character. She gives like 40% damage increase to range attacks. Yeah, 40%. You can go for, let's see, Yuno. You're not going to use the crit, but the invul it's pretty good. Let's see, what else can you do? You can use Rinko. Rinko is a pretty good supporter for Emily. Because it increases her damage, it reduces the damage taken, and she's an assist type character. Let's see. Other than that, you can use Fumasaika because damage increase on skills. Let's see. No. That's about it for the characters that you can use. You can also use her, Misaki. But Misaki, it's supposed to be for critting, and you're going to get like only 20% damage increase, which isn't that big. You can use, what's the name? Yeah, Belmer if you want. Yeah, her damage increase always work on VR. So yeah, use whatever you have that works for you. In this build, she wants damage increase. She doesn't. I mean, the extra effect of damage reduction is appreciated, but that isn't the main focus. Okay, so let's test her out. I'm going to use Murasaki with my new acquire tanky Magatamas for machines, and the classic green, and more importantly, this one. As I was telling you, I wanted to use now here because she's gonna get a ton of defense. 40% against buffed enemies, 40% against bosses, and with the other now, it would have been like 120% damage reduction plus Magatamas. So yeah, we're not gonna do that. And this one is only whatever Micah with red build to deal damage. And the important thing about her red build is that she reduces the enemy's defense. I already finished farming for today, but I have the extra BP to do the runs, so I'll just do it. So important here, you want to, especially on machine, this is pretty easy on machine, you want to leave the blue one alive. So you want to evade and then do the tackle and then get near the enemy and shred them. Yeah. Do the tackle, shred, evade. Pretty easy, right? Come on, there we go. And I'm going to use the active just to destroy them faster. Oh my god. But I cannot recover HP like I usually do with Emily. I have to do it with the potions, because this is not a blue build or a build with healing field. So it does work. you just have to be careful. If you don't trust Emily that she can survive or she's tanky enough, you can use Felicia. Emily is going to receive enough HP just by having Felicia because she's dealing a good amount of damage and she's level 81. Uh-huh. So that's the build that I wanted to check here. Another build that I have, but I have showed in other videos, but this is for anti-human, for mass Taimanin, is this one. Uh, this is kind of outdated, but we replace this because you're not going to play Emily with this build. You put the Sledge of Blessings, you put Drone Shocker, Ground Shocker, and Homing Bullet. And you're going to use Spinel because she reduces the speed by 100%. And Fumatokiko, Indomitable Fumatokiko on the subslot because she also reduces speed. So you have 4 ways to reduce speed with just one character. And because of the constant wave of debuffs, you can use Yamato Susune or you can use Holy Knight or Onisaki Kirara. Yeah, that's a thing. So now let's go to the other mode, to Arena Tower, to check the builds that I prepared because there's still more builds that I have to show you. So starting with, let me get closer. This one. This is going to be the build for Anti-Demon. And I have the effect for a speed increase on range attacks, so that's good. But I'm not going to proc it that often because I'm not going to use Zero System on most of these builds. I'm going for a red build where I'm going to use Shock Drone. Shock Drone doesn't really matter. It does matter if you want to use Susune or Holy Knight Kirara. Only there it matters. But in this case, as you can see, I'm going for full damage. I'm using Baretta, I'm going to use Yukina, and I'm also going to use Stella. I went for full damage. Supporters that you want here on red, damage increase, a little bit of damage reduction, and this does work well, Gal Lilim, because Emily does have ways to proc the debuffs. She has 2 skills that cause slow. Also, you can pair it with Fumatokiko for more consistency, and then you go with Susune and Kirara. You don't want to use this one. This is a pretty good supporter, but even though she has melee attacks and her red attack is melee, you don't want to get near the enemies that much. You can use this, but her skill doesn't have enough multi-heals to actually proc that often, so I do not recommend it. It's just for damage. You can use these two. These two are super good because they increase range damage. Unfortunately, specifically on red, they're not going to help axe impact, so be careful with that. From melee attacks, reduce cooldown of supporters. This is an acceptable supporter, especially because Emily doesn't like melee attacks. And Spica is an excellent supporter too if you want to use her. Because she works for both sides of the spectrum. I was considering using these two, but I don't have Eleanor. This is not a stage where I have Eleanor. So you can actually use this on the main if you also have Eleanor. It is kind of weird, but it works. So yeah, let's test her out. Let's see. Yeah, you already saw all of these. So what's the idea? We're going to tackle, then we're gonna axe imp, and then that's about it. Drone Shocker, I could change it for Zero System or for Healing Field or for Ground Shocker, but I don't want Ground Shocker. So you have options there. You could also go for Homing Bullet. In fact, I'm going to go for Homing Bullet. Just Homing Bullet, no, but I want Aegis Tackle. Yeah, because I want to go full damage in this case. and that's gonna be easier in my opinion. So let's test that very quickly. And as you're gonna see, this is pretty fast. I tackle, then I do the... Wait a moment, where's the axe with this? Yeah, and I just erase the enemies. Unfortunately, the basic attack isn't as strong just to delete the enemy. You are going to be doing... Position yourself properly, guys, when using this. So I evade a little bit, tackle, and damage. There we go. Nice. So now it's the same. I want them to get near me, but at the same time I want to evade properly. And oh, come on. You see, that's the problem with Emily. You have to... Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Whew. There are several problems with Emily. I just have to use the active. Oh my god, come on! They stun lock me. There. No. No! Leave me! Why won't you get away? Oh, I'm gonna try that again. That's a problem with Emily. If you don't use healing wave, and if you don't use zero system, there's a chance that that happens. Because if there's a bunch of enemies, the stage is small, and you get cornered, then you're going to get stun locked. That's why I used the supporter. I didn't want to, but it was my only option. And it didn't work in the end, so... Yeah. And ground shocker, while good, it puts you in range of attack for the enemy, so I don't like that. Oh my god, a million damage. And it didn't hit! Yeah, the axe, it does deal good damage. But the range is kind of weird and they didn't fix that. I hate it. Okay. So that's why you don't want to use Emily. Well, most people don't want to use Emily like this, with pure colors. The only pure color that is like busted is definitely blue. Blue is her best color. Come on, just a little bit. Enough. Destroyed. Yeah, with right positioning, you can do it. You can do it. But you need to practice for sure. I did some runs, and yeah, every 1 out of 5, something like that happens where I would get stun lock. So just be careful on how you position yourself and when you activate your skills. Now, let's see. I didn't change the skin, but I'm gonna change it now. We're gonna go with blue damage. You could go with blue defensive, but I don't recommend blue defensive. Let's go with bright skin. Why not blue defensive? For blue defensive, you want to use gravity hold, yes. And you want to use... You can use this one, drone shocker, when there are normal enemies, but if they have super armor, that's gonna be a problem. You can use... No, this one is not good. This one. Aegis, tackle, gravity hold, and healing field. Those are the skills that you want to use on defensive Emily. But what are the options if you want to use pure blue defensive? You have Akina. You have Rinka, which isn't that good actually, because it only lasts for 4 seconds and it procs on skills. Which other? Shisui is good. I mean, it's Shisui, of course. but you can use Murasaki, which is limited. You can use Susune, which has a small number for a gacha supporter. 24% at 5 out of 5 is kind of small-ish, but it's another way to reduce the damage. So yeah, when you do damage reduction, Tanky Emily, you want to use different builds depending on what you're tackling. Mixed builds especially. For example, Yuri Hisui, you want to use Yuna or Nao. You want to use who else? Also, Punisher Yukikase for human. Yuno because of invincibility. Who else? I think those are the green ones that you want to use. And for red, you want to use Major, Spica, Zarya, Aoi. Yeah, that's about it for the characters that you want to use, the supporters that you want to use for defensive. So yeah, for defensive damage you can use Arabella. No, for blue damage you want to use Arabella maybe. You can use who else? The three supporters that work for the specific attribute. Yes, you want to use Uraru. Yeah, Uraru is a good one. Keito is also good, but Keito, the good thing about Keito is actually the snare, which gives a ton of value for a character like Emily, which doesn't have like super armor at all. You can also use Kana, especially with the Sledge of Blessing, and it depends on the kind of build that you're going to use, and if you have partners. If you have someone like, I don't know, what's the name? Like Chizuru, which also buffs you, gives you an attack buff, then this is good. Let's see. Other than that, we can use Reina. Reina increases critical damage of ranged attacks just like that. If you're on BR, but this is not good for specifically because of the mechanics of BR. But Kosue increases critical range against buffed enemies. BR enemies count as buffed, but they have like critical rate reduction or resistance. So, depends on the kind of step that you're facing. This could work. Let's see. And also Felicia, New Year Felicia. She's an assist type character and she's dealing damage with her skills. So that works pretty well. If you don't want to use Keito, I would recommend that you use Reina and Felicia on the main slot, because Felicia is going to give you a little bit of healing, which you don't actually need. You already have enough healing, but it also gives you a damage reduction. So let's check those skills. Gravity Hold for healing and huge amount of damage. Homing Bullet just to deal more damage, and Ground Shocker to increase the damage. damage. You could also go for Aegis Tackle if you want because of the damage reduction. It is acceptable. So let's check this build super quickly. So for this one, you want to position yourself properly and do the ball, and that's it. You deal damage. Ground Shocker. If the enemy has enough HP to survive the gravity hold, then you just have to use Ground Shocker first to reduce their HP, and then you're going to use, look, this and this. You're gonna deal a huge amount of damage. So yeah, I didn't want to use the skills right now. I hope that they don't get snared just at the beginning. Come on, come close. I do this. Oh well, it seems that come on, let me, and oh, I got interrupted. Come on. Well, in that case, I'm gonna destroy this. Yeah, 1.5 million, I think. I didn't see that pretty well. It seems that we do not have like, no, it's not hitting. There actually isn't, the character isn't, doesn't have the hitbox at the bottom, but she can get interrupted if the attacks are uh, like higher. If the enemy is tall enough, or if the attack goes into the air, then you can get interrupted with this skill, because that has happened, and you're super vulnerable when that happens. So yeah, uh, I think that Emily's bread and butter is on mixed build actually. So you want to use different combinations. For example, I mentioned that I tried this build or a similar build with red. Instead of Spinel, I use Kirara, Holy Knight Kirara, and it didn't work because it does work because you have the damage, but it's not getting you the amount of control that it should. Because the combination in VR is just busted. Let's go with green. For green, green is the busted color. We're gonna use round slicer, Aegis tackle, and zero system. The same as the build for VR. But instead of using Misaki and Now, we're gonna use Kaoru and Suruga. She is going to be the same because of the extra skill, of the extra passive that gives you a lot of damage. But if you don't want to use that, you can use the Founding 3, you can use... I mean, there's many supporters. Nano, this one, Yuna, on normal content. Which other? The specific damage supporters. Which other? Of course, this one, Wrinkle. I think increase fortitude, reduce damage taken from demon, and increase damage dealt by... Yeah, you can use this one for demons, for demon enemies. You can use this one in your if you're playing with what's the name? With Eleanor. And you can use Saika. So yeah, there's more options if you're not limited to only skill damage or generic damage. You can go for the crit supporters. Let's try it one more time. You know how this looks, but I mean it's way better on stages where there are no enemies with super armor, with not super armor, with crit resistance. Yeah, and Emily just deleted them. So yeah, bye bye. And yeah, we're gonna now check some of the mixed builds that you want to use with Emily. There are some special combinations that are noteworthy. So I'm just going to, yeah, without using the active of the supporter. Pretty easy. You can always change, put zero system in and out depending on your build. It is a generic option. You can do the same with healing field, except for full green, because you're going to select round slicer instead. But let's see, if we want to make a mixed build, what would we use? So let's see. You don't want to use Axe Impact. You can, but you don't want to. The same goes for Round Slicer. The only 3-color skill that actually works for mixed builds is gonna be this one. Because the critical rate doesn't matter that much. You can achieve that on different stages. Or if you're on VR, you're not gonna do it anyways. So If you're using 2 blue, you can go with this one. If you're using 2 blue, what other good things we have? You could go with ground shocker. Yes, it is an option. You can go with Aegis tackle. Yes, if you want blue, if you want green, any color is fine, depending on what you're doing. You can go with Aegis tackle and homing bullet. So I would put homing bullet, gravity hold, and not zero system. We're gonna start using builds that focus on zero system. So let's say that I want 2 blue, which I'm using the homing bullet. So for these, she likes this, and she likes the crit in this case. So since she likes the crit, where is Reina? And since I'm using crit, I'm going to use Suruga. It's kind of guaranteed. Or you can go with Kowaru, just increase damage. Let's look at that. This is supposed to be a build that you just shred everything with your basic attacks while protecting yourself thanks to the Kato's passive that ensnares the enemies. Yeah? And in case of an emergency, you have the ability to recover HP with this skill. That's about it for this build. That's the thing that you want to do. Fortunately, you're gonna be very protected because of the amount of damage you deal and because of the the passive. You see, it takes some time to apply, but it works. It works. You have the HP recovery to withstand your enemy. And just doing that gravity hold at the beginning is gonna allow you to shred a couple enemies, which is gonna reduce the damage you take because there's no more enemies there. And there we go. One more time. Yeah. So this is the control strategy with damage on basic attacks. Yeah, usually the crit rate supporters are not my favorite because I'm missing damage. I'm missing out on damage, but it is viable. They also work on lower challenging content. VR is just too much crit resistance. Too much crit resistance. Now, let's go with a red. And this was blue focus, but what if you don't want to use blue? You're not going to have that HP recovery there. Then counter trap. I'm going to use counter trap, and I'm going to use healing field. Yeah, healing field works just because. But what do I want? Let me check. I'm using bullet, counter trap, and healing field. So I want damage with 2 red. I'm thinking that I can do this. Yes, I'm going to use the combination, and I'm going to put this here. And the question is, who do I want? What do I want? Homing bullet. More missiles or cooldown reduction? So which supporters would I use? Here I could change the red one for, I don't know, where something very generic. This one. And I'm going to change it for something very F2P. This one. Where is the other? Here. Here she is. And I'm going to use this. This is very old and probably you already have it. But there's other options if you don't have Uno. You can use another invincibility supporter in the form of Spica, or this one is not F2P friendly, but after some time you'll get it, Shisui. And if you use a Spica, you can change one of the supporters here. So this is meant to deal damage. Homing bullet, counter trap. We're gonna change counter trap for zero system. In this case, you're just going to deal damage. It is the kind of basic build that you would use on daily quest. And the only thing you have to do is evade. Literally, you just evade to heal whenever you are low on HP. And in case the enemy is not letting you heal enough because they are all the crowd is around you and they're hitting you, you can use the invincibility supporter there. Look, I'm gonna be here. I was expecting them to hit me while I was healing, but I activated the homing bullet. So yeah, let's try that with the bosses. They probably are going to hit me. So yeah, come on, let me heal. There, I'm going to heal, and I'm going to activate this. And you can heal while you're invul, which is good. Nice. So it is just a matter of baiting on this build. Everything is done automatically except the evade. And you could actually do it automatically. You don't need to play if you have the seasonal pack weapon, which I didn't upgrade that much. I didn't get all the copies because I didn't like the weapon and supporter. The supporter is kind of not bad but not good. And the weapon was okay because of the auto activation of the skill. Lastly, let's just check my generic build for farming. My generic build for farming is all damage against all enemies, and I'm using Nino and Uraru as well as Mercy. But these ones you can put something that gives you more damage. I mean, for example, no, you do want generic damage, so skill damage is not an option. I think this is kind of the best because this is going to increase your damage for your basic attacks and skills. This is also going to do the same because it's generic damage, and that's about it. Yeah. So use these builds if you want to auto farm. The other builds are something more of a manual thing if you want to tackle challenging content and do something different. But this is the build that everyone uses, along with homing bullet, zero system, and healing field. So let's look at the weapons super quickly. I think we already have the here weapon. Yeah, Emily. Let's check Emily's weapons. So we have the package weapon, which is pretty bad. We have the mileage weapon, which is busted as usual for paid content. This one, Agnus Dei. Agnus Dei is not a bad weapon, but it isn't good either. It increases your speed by 10% when particles are fully charged, and deals damage and knocks down the enemies in an area. You don't want to use the active that much. The speed increase is good because you're going to attack quicker and you're going to defeat the enemy quicker. But it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. Then we have the arena weapons, which you know what they do. Oh, this thing, the Howling Arthurs. So grants one stack whenever you use a skill. Stacks up to 100 times. Lasts for 30 seconds. Remove all stacks. Perform a range attack of 220 damage plus 5 per stack. So you can deal a good amount of damage if you have the 100 stacks. But by that time, the enemy is gonna be dead. That's why these weapons are pretty bad. Momochi weapon is generally good, for daily quest. If you have it, you can use it. Limited weapon, which I don't have. Increase. No, this is the. Well, neither do I have this one, I think. It is the SR. Let's go for the UR. Passive. Homing bullets become a fireball and further enhance the supporter's set effect by 50%. This weapon is good, especially for the what's the name? Any debuffing effect on your supporter is gonna be busted. People use this on the disarm strategy with a specific supporter, and it's pretty good. So you're gonna enhance the time that the enemy is debuffed. So do get that when it reruns. I am going to get that for sure. I didn't because I didn't know how good it was, but it is pretty great. Create an ice storm that deals 505,000 damage to all enemies within range and freeze them for 5 seconds. Excellent active. Freezing is one of the best debuffs in the game, but everyone forgets about how good it is because it just wears off after one hit, but you get double the damage on that hit. So yeah, it is pretty good. Let's see. The next one. The snake weapon. Particle charge increase and you are going to call forth an area attack of a toxic stream that deals damage. So this one is pretty good. The snake weapons. Let's talk about the snake weapons pretty quickly. So snake weapons are bad because of the stats. If you compare them, they are pretty low. But the attack is not too bad. And if you use it with Kaito, it's pretty good. The ensnare is probably one of the best ways to use this attack in a combo, because the wave continuously move forward, and if the enemy doesn't come to you, then they're gonna receive all the attacks that the wave can deal. So yeah, it is good for range attackers. For melee attackers, these are not good weapons. But it has low stats, so there's that. Then we have this one, the seasonal pack weapon, Pale Rider. It says, adds auto dodge function to zero system normal attack, deals an additional 150 of damage using 10% of particles. So that means that all the evade skills you can use with this weapon, which is good. It is pretty good. Especially the healing. Basically, you can put zero system, homing bullet, and healing field, and that's it. You can literally auto farm without worrying about your HP. One of the things that happen with Emily is that people worry about their HP depending on how strong their Emily is. Mine doesn't matter anymore for daily, it's just that strong. But if you're on level 60, maybe 50, then you're gonna have troubles with dailies. And you can mitigate that with this, because you're going to heal constantly. Then we have this one. This one is good. I mean, not all the weapons, but most of the weapons of VR are good. And Emily is a good pick for the machines, especially as a supporter. I use her as an attacker, but she's especially good when you're using her as a supporter. You use Kaito, and Kaito is one of the biggest snare is one of the biggest weakness of machines, the LWS squad. So getting increased damage and damage reduction is good, and the increased damage on Drone Shocker is also good. Though Drone Shocker, I mean, you would use it green for more damage? I don't know. I don't think that the fact that they put the buff on Drone Shocker is the best, but I mean, it's good because the machines are immune to slow. That's the problem there. And then we have Sledge of Blessings, which is definitely the best weapon for Emily, especially on content with multiple Taimanin. Every 50 combos, increase damage of all allies for 8 seconds by 2%, stack up to 6 times. Flaws about this. The animations. The animations when a boss change modes, when a boss appear, that's the biggest flaw of this weapon. Because the buffs and debuffs don't have their timer stop in that moment. When you do an ulti, the timer stops. But when you get out of the ulti and you see the explosion animation and you cannot move, the timer of buffs and debuffs is there. It's still running. And the same goes when Max Taimanin takes off the coat. So that's the biggest flaw of this weapon. Let's see. When hit by melee attacks, Angel will blow the trumpets and deal 90% damage to all surrounding enemies, knocking them back and giving allies super armor for 4 seconds. This is great. This is one of the biggest flaws from Emily, even if she's playing, especially when she's playing solo. She doesn't have super armor, so getting a little bit of super armor so that you can get away and getting everyone away from you so that you have space to run, that's great. If you can. This is like mostly for mobs. The super armor does work on bosses, but yeah. Heavenly Chariot, we already checked that Zero System uses skills automatically except the evade skills, and the normal attack is decreased by 30%. Skill damage increases by 30%. So if you want to do a build similar to the one that I did for VR, that focuses on skill damage and you don't use Zero System, or you use it but just as an extra, it's fine if you want to focus on skill damage. But this is supposedly another way to make her better at auto farming, which she didn't need it. The basics were good enough. I mean, we already have a weapon that helped her out with auto farming. That was the limited pack, seasonal pack weapon, which was more than enough in my opinion. They should have instead reworked Zero System to do the skills automatically. And now that's not gonna be a thing because we have 2 weapons that do that. So yeah. And one more thing, because I forgot about it. She also works with Emily. She's kind of designed for Emily. I'm still not sure what this combo stack duration does. If it's for the combo or for the buffs that proc on combo. But the damage increase on normal attacks is excellent. And Emily is fast enough to constantly proc this effect that gives you damage reduction. So it is pretty good to use this supporter. Let's see. Particle charge. Damage. Melee damage. No. This is also a good supporter for Emily. White is pretty good. Because, I mean, she attacks that fast, and thanks to that she can stack any kind of combo buff. That's why she's good with Emily. Holy Knight Ingrid is also a good character. Wait, Emily? No, Emily is assist. Forget it. This is for protect. Oh yeah, Emily supporter, which I don't have. Increases max HP by 5%, by 15%, increases damage dealt to all enemies by 15% when the character's HP is below 50%. So this is pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, it is not that big of a deal. And I don't like the fact that you have to have like less HP, but this is easier to activate because of the HP increase that the supporter give by itself. And then the actual good thing is that normal attacks shoot up to 3 fireballs that inflict 30% damage every 40 seconds. So you're gonna have more ways to deal damage. That's good. Strikes the lightning deals damage to enemies within area and makes them groggy. Damage dealt is increased by 20% for 10 seconds. Pretty good active, pretty good active. An attack buff is appreciated. And the extra attacks on normal attacks are also good. Yeah, I think those are the only supports that I'm missing that actually matter for Emily. So yeah, guys, that's about it for Emily. She is a good character overall, but her main role is as an auto farmer or supporter for challenging content. She isn't meant, for the most part, to do all the heavy lifting and do the deal damage. She can, but as you can see, the lack of super armor in this character is noticeable. She gets interrupted super easily. In solo content, she can flop on challenging content, but on daily she's gonna work just fine. At this level, at 81, I have no troubles at all. And another noticeable thing about her, why I don't increase her, is because I want her to be just this strong. I will increase her level, but in due time, because of the combo. She can do the 30 combos, and if she's like too powerful, she's going to destroy the enemies before she deals the 30 combo. Now, I think she's gonna do the 30 combo even so, but I'm wary of that. And besides, if that ever were to happen, you can just equip a weapon, a wood weapon, to her to reduce the damage output on her. So yeah, pretty good character. Do try to get her, especially newer players. She has more uses than just auto farming. As a supporter, healer, and damage dealer in some niche situations. So yeah, that's about it for today, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.